Welcome to the discussion. My guest today, Lance Spencer, the Client Executive Vice President for the Air Force at AT&T Public Sector. Lance, welcome to the discussion.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Bill Lancey, the Client Executive Vice President for Navy and Marine Corps at AT&T Public Sector. Bill, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for hosting us.
And Jamie Gatto, the Client Executive Director for Navy Enterprise Networks for AT&T Public Sector. Jamie, welcome to the discussion.
Thanks for having us.
Jamie brings up IoT. Let's go down that path a little bit because IoT plays into this need for the bigger, better, stronger network, more agile network, more flexible network. Bill, come into the conversation about the IoT when you talk to your customers and they're saying, well, can it do this? And how do we get this sensor? And can it pull this data from this latest technology? IoT is going to be an integral part of this discussion.
IoT is actually resulting in rapid growth in a number of connected devices, on everything from borders to buildings to the sensors to cameras. AT&T currently has millions of devices already connected, and with 5G connections predicted by millions more by 2022 and beyond. But I think the key there to your point though is when you look at computing and analytic resources, how they're moving from the centralized cloud to the network edge, they will take advantage of technology such as multi-access edge compute and network edge compute, right, to increase capacities and reduce latencies. So those are kind of two critical functions that AT&T has in terms of its IoT and 5G services. But Jamie, if we could kind of kick it to you and give us kind of some background on where MEC and NEC could fit in with the Navy, let's say, and how the Navy could benefit from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier I had talked about that, doing local computing with a camera, right, and figuring out how to work that as part of the edge-to-edge intelligence. Well, sort of inherent in that are these capabilities called MEC and NEC, right? So the multi-access edge compute and network edge compute. So what MEC does is it allows us to, historically, when something was connected to the cellular network, that data had to get all the way back into the network core before it could go back out to wherever it was headed. What MEC allows us to do is deliver it locally to computing resources that are right there. A really interesting application for this for the Navy might be a smart shipyard or a smart depot, where there are a number of IoT devices that may be doing logistics tracking or personnel tracking, tool tracking, right? All the sort of every IoT thing that you can think about. Well, none of that data needs to leave the shipyard, right? All of that is going to be consumed by systems and resources that are right there within the shipyard or depot. So being able to use multi-access Edge Connect allows us to pull that data off the air, reroute it immediately back into the Navy's networks, and provide it right there. When you start to aggregate that with some of the 5G technologies like network slicing, right? We can create what's effectively a private RF slice of the spectrum for the Navy so that those things can be encrypted and protected from end to end, never leave the base very securely.
So two things I think the DoD needs to think about when they're talking about IoT. And one is, in the current environment, almost everybody with a purchase card is an IT procurement official. And so, that's a governance challenge. And I think that the DoD needs to be mindful of going to trusted sources for their IoT solutions. And I say solutions, not devices. It'd be very easy to go out to pick a web page, to pick a company, and buy some kind of IoT device and connect it to the DoD network or some other network. And all of a sudden, it's interacting with DoD data, and that could be a real problem. Companies like AT&T vet our IoT supply chain. We're very solutions-oriented. It comes with all the cybersecurity, end-to-end visibility and capability, so that there's a lot of, you've got the cybersecurity assurance and integrity in there.
When you talk about IoT, currently, I know Air Force bases and Navy commands, a lot of DoD is using IoT devices, but the expectation is that adoption will only increase, especially as 5G kicks in, and especially I think as network as a service kicks in, because they're going to see, adding another device is not that big of a deal, and we can control it better because of software-defined networking. Talk maybe a little bit about the conversations you're having about IoT. Where does it fit in to this IT modernization, to this network as a service? Yeah, Jamie.
Absolutely. So we're working with the Navy right now on some building energy monitoring solutions, right? So the Navy for many years now has done a very good job of instrumenting and connecting their buildings sort of internally, right, with building management systems. But in a lot of cases, those systems weren't connected out, and they're really trying to move to a more regionalized, what they call an energy operations center, and they needed a way to get that data out of the building and back into the EOC so that they could make good decisions about how to better use energy or where things were efficient or inefficient. And so we've been able to, we've proposed putting in some IoT solutions that are going to do exactly that. In some cases, we're connecting to those existing energy management solutions. In some cases, there in fact isn't one, right? The hardware is too old. It wasn't originally connected. And we have solutions that can plug into that as well and bring those things out. The Navy did a number of pilots in fleet management, right? And in this case, we're talking about vehicle fleets. They wanted to know which of their vehicles are being used and how much, and were the folks driving them the way that they were expected to, right? Are they using their seatbelts, right? All things that we can tell with the connected IoT devices. So we're having a lot of conversations, sort of broadly. And I think, as I mentioned before, right, the real trick is understanding the use case. And then, as Lance said, building the whole solution around it, because it's generally not just a tracker. What helps is a tracker connected to a database that with presentation that allows you to make decisions from the information that you're getting. And so, whether that's an energy operations center or it's a fleet manager who's trying to decide how many cars he needs next year from GSA, those are the sorts of end-to-end solutions that we're looking to help the Navy get to.
IoT, as we've been talking about, is spreading across every agency, every piece and parcel, if you will, of DoD. When it comes to the network as a service effort, but Air Force more broadly, I'm sure they see a ton of opportunity for IoT.
They do. I think the challenge is doing something about it. So 3 years ago, we did a smart base pilot. We introduced the concept to the Air Force, smart base, and did a pilot at Maxwell Air Force Base. And feedback we got was it went over extremely well. I think the Air Force is having a hard time taking the next steps on that. And I think part of the challenge is it's left to local commanders to decide what their requirement is and what their solution is, and then basically use their pens and pencils operating budget to fund that. I think that the Air Force probably should look at a similar approach to what they've taken for network as a service, for IoT and smart basing, and figure out how to do it more at the corporate level. I think that there are solutions that cross-cut all the bases, whether you think about force protection or fleet or logistics or building management or other things. So I think the way they'll really accelerate that is taking a more corporate view and institutionalizing it in the programs that deliver those services.